Hi everyone, my name is Amirul and I'll be starting off our presentation. Today we are going to talk about the rise and fall of management accounting based on the famous article by Johnson and Kaplan in 1978. Now, let's first understand what exactly is management accounting. Simply put, it's a system that helps manager to make decisions by providing financial and non-financial information. It's not just about recording numbers, but about helping leaders run their business better. If we go back in time, in the early 20th century, factories were booming during the Industrial Revolution. Owners and managers need a way to measure costs, control production, and check efficiency. That's how management accounting rose. It was like the GPS that guide business, showing them where money was going and how they could perform better. But here's the problem. Over the years, business kept evolving, but management accounting did not evolve fast enough. And by the 1970s, it started losing its relevance. That's why Johnson and Kaplan call it a fall. In this presentation, we will walk you through its rise, its fall, the criticism, and what comes next. Let's start with the rise of management accounting.
Thanks, Amirul. Now let's explore the rise of management accounting. So, if we go back to the late 18,000s and early 19,000s, this was a turning point in how businesses were managed. Factories were booming during the Industrial Revolution, producing steel, textiles, cars, you name it. But there was a big problem. Managers didn't really know their true costs. Without proper systems, it was like running a business blindfolded. So that's where management accounting came in as a real game changer. For the first time, businesses had tools like cost sheets to track the cost of producing each unit, budgets to plan ahead, and variance analysis to compare actual performance with expectations. Imagine being able to see in black and white that it should cost £10 to make one product, but it actually costs £12. Managers could now act quickly to fix problems. Okay, this information transformed decision making in a big way. Managers were no longer relying on rough guesses, they had actual numbers to guide them. With this, they could set fair prices, reduce waste, and improve efficiency across production. For example, if a factory saw materials being wasted, variance analysis would highlight the problem so managers could take action quickly. It wasn't just about saving costs, it is also create a culture where decisions were sharper and more reliable. Okay, so industries like steel, textiles, and later automotive giants such as Henry Ford's company thrive with this approach. Ford's assembly line, for instance, wasn't only a breakthrough in engineering, it was supported by precise cost tracking. Management accounting showed the cost of each step, making it possible to cut delays, lower prices, and still maintain quality. So, the rise of management accounting was about relevance and usefulness. It gave managers clarity about their costs, control over their operations, and confidence to make better decisions. In short, it was innovative, timely, and practical. It is also a real driver of industrial success.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurishada bint Azmi. So now let's forward to the 1970, which is the period Johnson and Kaplan called the fall. So by this time, the business world had changed completely. Technology had advanced, competition, and customer wanted more variety and higher quality at lower price. But unfortunately, management accounting systems stayed almost the same as they were in 1920s. The result, the information was provided was too slow, outdated, and too focused on the short terms. Manager needed the data about the innovation, product quality, and customer satisfaction, but the accounting system were only telling them about the cost and profit. So imagine running a company with reports that arrive months later and they only talk about the cost. You would be driving blind. This is exactly what happened, which is the management accounting was no longer helping manager make a real-time strategic decision. So, while management accounting had once been a strength, by the 1970s, it became a weakness. That's why Johnson and Kaplan described it as a fall. It failed to keep up with the times.
Johnson and Kaplan were highly influential in the 1980s because they didn't just accept management accounting the way it was. They openly criticized it for being outdated and irrelevant. In their view, management accounting had three major weaknesses that made it less valuable to businesses. The first one is outdated methods. They argued that management accounting was stuck in the past. The same technique that had been developed in the 1920s was still being used in 1970s, even though the business world had completely changed. It was like insisting on using a typewriter while everyone else had already moved on to computers. Businesses were becoming more complex, competition was increasing, and technology was advancing, but accounting practices remained frozen in time. This gap meant that the information managers received was no longer sufficient to support modern decision making. The second one is too narrow in focus. According to Johnson and Kaplan, management accounting was obsessed with wanting controlling costs. While cost control is important, this narrow focus caused accountants to ignore other crucial aspects of running a business, such as long-term strategy, continuous innovation, product quality, and customer satisfaction. By being so centered on numbers and cost reports, management accounting failed to help organizations respond to the real challenges of global competition and changing market demands. The third one is not useful for managers. Another major weakness was timeliness. Reports were often prepared long after the event had already happened, which meant managers were making decisions with outdated information. Johnson and Kaplan compared this to receiving yesterday weather's forecast. It might be accurate, but it's not very useful when you're trying to decide what to wear today. For managers who needed real-time data to respond quickly to challenges and opportunities, these delayed reports were practically useless. Their criticism served as a wake-up call to both academics and practitioners. Johnson and Kaplan made it clear that if management accounting failed to evolve, it would risk becoming irrelevant in the modern businesses. But the article was not just a complaint. It was also a challenge and a push for improvement. By highlighting these weaknesses, they encourage the accounting profession to modernize its tools and techniques to provide information that was not only accurate but also timely, strategic, and relevant to managers.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nuri Iman binti Rosnizam. Okay, now let's talk about what happened after Johnson and Kaplan's criticism. Their article became a turning point. It inspired new ideas and methods to make management accounting more relevant. Some of the innovation were: the first one, ABC, means activity-based costing. It helps allocate costs more accurately to products. The second one is strategic management accounting, meaning it focuses on competitive analysis and long-term planning. The third one is balanced scorecard. It adds non-financial measures like customer satisfaction, learning, and growth. Okay, the last one is JIT and TQM. JIT stands for Just in Time and TQM stands for Total Quality Management. It integrates operations with accounting to reduce waste and improve quality. So we can clearly see that this innovation proved that management accounting was not dead. It just needed to evolve. So what's the lesson? Accounting must grow with business. The world will keep changing, and if accounting fails to adapt, it will fall behind again. So in conclusion, Johnson and Kaplan's article shows us that management accounting had a glorious rise, a painful fall, and then a rebirth through innovation. For us as students and future professionals, the takeaway is clear. Accounting is not just about recording numbers. It's about providing useful information to help managers make smarter decisions. Okay, thank you for watching, and we hope our presentation is easy to understand.